Welcome to Alchemy IAS, the Hi-Fi program. So we will brief you the major important five topic of the day. So let's start with the first topic that we have with respect to GST tax reform. This will be part of our economy current affair. Any news related to tax proposal, tax reform that will be relevant for our exam perspective, both prelims and the mains perspective. We will understand the latest news related to GST rationalization. In this particular contest, in the 56th meeting of the GST Council, it has approved and agreed for the change in the GST tax slabs. The previously we had four tax slabs like 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%, including the exception that is considered as 0%. Now, this tax slab has been changed into majorly two tax slabs. So now with this change, we have removed the earlier tax slab of 12% and 28%. The item which were included in these were moved into the other. One is the continuity of the 5% and the 80% tax slab, and additionally we have added one more special tax rate, that is 40%, mainly for the sinful good like the tobacco, cigarette, pan masala, and also including the luxurious goods, luxurious cars products. In such cases, we will impose, as per the GST tax reform, it will going to impose 40% special tax rates. Then we have currently the two tax lab rates, that is one at the 5%. The 5% can also be considered as the common man tax rates. And it also had discussed about the tax exceptions, mainly essential goods like milk, paneer, bread, the food items, and also including the health and life insurance policy. There will not be any tax will be imposed on that. That is the latest progressive change that we can see. And in the 18 percentage of tax slabs, we can say an example like ACs, TV, etc. You can also refer and study more about the latest tax slab under the GST reform. With this particular context, what is more important for a UPSC aspirant? We have to study for the prince perspective about the GST Council. 101st Constitutional Amendment Act provided for the establishment and constitution of the GST Council to discuss regarding the tax rate and policy. The last meeting was the 56th meeting in this contest. So we have to study, and please remember the Article 279A about the GST Council. Other than the GST Council, you should also note down the another important economic concept in tax system, that is related to the inverted duty structure. So main concern that we had in the previous tax slab was the fertilizer and textile industry had faced an inverted duty structure. Inverted duty structure means that the tax imposed on inputs, the raw material, is higher than its final goods. Especially for benefiting the consumer, ultimately, the government used to reduce the tax slab or impose tax in the final goods. But unfortunately, for the producer perspective, especially in India, we promote Make in India initiative, especially local industries would be affected with the higher tax imposed on the input part. So this is a concept that is relevant for the plaintiff's perspective about inverted duty structure. With the new tax reform, by making simplification of the GST tax slab, will benefit the textile and the fertilizer industry. They had faced this problem. That was discussed in this particular news. Moving on to the next aspect that we should study for the exam perspective is related to mains aspects. That how would this tax reform would affect the fiscal perspective. The immediate effect will be when we reduce the tax, especially from 12% to 5 or 18% to the 5%. In this case, there will be an immediate effect, a short-term impact, that is the revenue collection that the government is getting will be lower. So the lower tax resulting into less revenue collection, reduction of the revenue collection. But in the long run, it will benefit because the consumers will take it positively and their purchasing power capacity will be improved and they will go for buying, and it will boost economic growth later in the run. And also in terms of tax rate that has been fixed by the government, so with the lower tax, everyone will be ready to pay tax, so the tax evasion also will be reduced. So this inflation also can be controlled through this policy. Especially we know that the recent times, especially in the essential goods, with the cost push inflation, the people for going and getting these things, which is very costly, and that are resulted into cost push inflation. When we reduce the tax imposed on these essential goods, that the price of the goods also will come down, and that with this decrease in the price we can also control the inflation that has mainly affected the essential goods. That's also another positive implication of the tax reforms that we have seen in the latest updates. The federalism aspects, so this is also an example that we can illustrate in our main answer related to fiscal cooperative federalism between center and the states, with both the discussion between center and state through the GST council, and they finally came up with this tax reform which will benefit both the center and the states. But unfortunately, still the revenue collection of the state had been affected with the GST reform. So that still is important, and it has to be addressed properly through this fiscal federalism mechanism. Then another one important point that we can also include, that through simplifying the GST structure and also making our business local industries in order to work and boost their sector, this will definitely help our MSME sector. So this part of ease of doing business can also be included to have a diversity and different dimension to our mains. And the next topic that we have today is about the India's reservation policy debate. The main debate, and this is article is based on the explained page in Hindu, title as the text and context. So in order to get the most relevant topic of the day, we have referred to the Hindu and Indian Express and also some other official website of the governments. Now, the second topic that we have based on this article is debating about, should we exceed the reservation beyond this 50 percentage cap? So this debate is again incoming in public domain in the recent context of the Maratha reservation debate, and also during the Bihar election. The Bihar is going to promise 85 percentage of the quota reservation, and the Supreme Court in its examination is also going to extend the creamier criteria for recognizing the real beneficiaries under the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So this is the reason that this policy debate is again coming in the news. What we have to remember for the exam perspective, the legal framework related to OBC reservation or the vulnerable section here, the landmark judgment that we should remember with respect to the fixing the 50 percentage cap for the reservation, that was Indra Sanai case in 1992. This was a major judgment, and that has recognized and allowed OBC reservation that is not violative of the Article 16. Under Article 16, it will be considered as an exception for the upliftment of the backward classes, which are they are socially, educationally backward. And in this judgment, it has upheld the reservation. Along with that, the 50 percentage cap has been fixed. That is, the integration of the SC, ST, and OBC reservation cannot go more than 50%. That was a judgment in the Indra Sahani case. Later, we have seen the 103rd Amendment Act extended the reservation to economically weaker section, and it has been challenged in court of law in 2022, and that was a case, Janhit Abhiyan case. In this case, Supreme Court said that this is not violating the 50 percentage cap, because this 50 percentage cap of the reservation only applicable to scheduled caste, scheduled tribal community, and OBC. So that's the reason that EWS reservation was upheld in the Janhita Abhiyan case. Now, in this particular context, we have to remember also the major important article within the group of fundamental right, Article 15 that prohibit discrimination, and Article 16 that provide equal opportunity in public employment. So these are part of the substantive equality in order to achieve equity. So these are the part of affirmative action government would take. So implementation challenges has been discussed in this article. One is, as per the Rohini Commission has suggested for like identifying the real beneficiaries, the real disadvantaged sections. So in this Rohini Commission report has identified that in OBC reservation, it has benefited mainly the few, but large people who are really in need had been left out. The second, the issue that we have at the implementation level regarding the scheduled caste, scheduled tribal debate, the petition has been introduced that we can have this creamier that's currently used for the OBC and EWS can also be considered as criteria in order to understand within the SC and ST group the inequality that we have, and that can be addressed by identifying through the creamier features. So these are the concern and challenge that we have. The judicial stand here is that the court now seeing reservation is not just an exception to the equality, rather it is an instrument to achieve substantive equality. The real outcome should be focused So through these measures, we can correct the historical and social injustice has been faced by this disadvantaged section. This part can be used in mains perspective, and also you can include the way forward in this kind of debate. Any question can come in the future, especially mains examination. So we should conduct a caste census in order to identify the real needy beneficiaries. And the second thing that we should implement the subcategorization. Recently, Supreme Court also allowed to the state to identify the subcategorization within this group result categories, and also we can introduce the creamy layer criteria for identifying the real disadvantaged sections within the SC and ST group. And reservation will not alone will help us in advancements. It should complement with the providing better educational opportunities, training and skill development. Then only in the long run it will empower our these sections. These are the points that we should integrate into our preparations. Now, the moving on to the next third topic, that is again a debate regarding the security and the national security and the civil liberty. This is in the context of the Delhi Rights 2020. Recently, a judgment of the Delhi High Court, they refused to grant bail to the 10 accused person in the Delhi Right case of 2020. They were in jail for the past 5 years, but unfortunately, they had charged this UAPA, that is also UAPA, and with this charged under the UAPA, they were in jail for the past 5 years, and the trial has not been conducted. And they approached for the court to get bail, but the bail has been denied. In this contest, for the prelims examination, we have to study the important provisions of the UAPA. UAPA. So these are the major important provision. Within this context, we have to study section 15 that define the terrorism activity, that is to prohibit terrorism. Then section 16 that is also giving the punishment to such acts. Then section 43D subclause 5 that is regarding the bail application, that is making like very rigid and strict rules. It is not easy to get bail under the UAPA case. And the important case that we should note it down in this particular contest, that is Union of India versus Najib case. In Najib case in 2021, Supreme Court have made an interpretation and reference that when any person is in jail for many years and a trial, in such cases, even though the bail under the UAP is strict and rigid, but we can consider the application of the bail or granting the bail by protecting the civil liberty and the personal liberty the person would enjoy. So this has to balance the security of the state and the civil liberty that a person would enjoy. So these were the main point that we should remember in this context. You should also study and revise Article 19, Article 21. Article 21 is also important. This is in conflict with the right to life and personal liberty. For the mains perspective, the debate would come, or it can be used as a case study for any question that is coming in the mains examination related to fundamental right, the balancing civil liberties and protecting the state interest and security. And another important challenge that we have, because and under the UAPA, it had broader definition of the terrorism, that any means, any action can be considered as a terrorist activity or terrorism. So this broader definition is also another challenge that we have, that blood the confused the balancing between the security and the civil liberty that we have. Sometimes people would criticize government policy through conducting peaceful protest. So this democratic dissent and the actions of the violence is not able to balance because of the broader definition of terrorism is another issue that we have. Then justice and fairness need to be ensured. The objective of this particular UAPA and the judicial process, that they will examine it in a detailed way in order to ensure the fair treatment. But unfortunately, when the process is too delayed, as have we seen in this case of the Delhi rights, it has been pending for the last 5 years. Justice, when it is delayed, that also can resulting into justice denied. So this is another concern that we have between the when we have the gap between the national security and civil liberty. Moving on to the next, another important economic topic that we have in the context of the US imposition of tariff. We have seen that the US government had imposed a tariff additionally for India 50%, especially India, if it continue its trade with Russia. There are certain sanctions are there. And directly or indirectly, this is affecting Indian economy and Indian trade, and especially specifically Indians export to the US. Even when we consider this particular context, the US tariff imposition had resulted into weakening or fall of Indian rupee. The news here is the how why the rupee fall happened due to the US tariff. And the second thing is why the RBI, the Central Bank of India, is allowing this depreciation that will positively be considered for the exporters in India. So with this context, rather like when we study about the impact of the US tariff, the 50% tariff on India, we can also consider how the policy, how the government, including the Central Bank of India, making strategy and policy to tackle these challenges we would face in the Indian economy. For example, here with respect to rupee depreciation, rupee falling, if there is no any tariff, means normal situations, that is a regular tax will be there. For instance, here example, that is a dollar one of the US, with the dollar one of the US, we can maybe buy one pen, and with the dollar 10 we can buy maybe 10 pen. But Indian, this rupee is depreciate, or India's rupee value is less than the dollar. For example, if the dollar 1 is equal to rupees 80, with the price, this exchange rate difference that we have between dollar and rupee, and with this dollar 0.10 we can buy one pen, and with dollar 1 we can buy, with dollar 10 we can, with the dollar 1 we can buy 10 pen, with the $10 we can buy 100 pen. So when we have a dollar 100 in US, we can buy only 10 US pen. At the same time, with the same money, a US person can buy, a person in US market can buy 100 pen of Indian pen. But when the US imposing heavy tariff like 50% on Indian goods, this would definitely increase the cost. So with the increase of the export cost, the price that we will sell in the US market will be increased. With the impact of this, now with the dollar 10, we can only buy 66 pen. Earlier we were able to buy with 100 pen. Because of the tariff, it has been reduced into 66. It will definitely affect the exporters of Indians. Then immediately when industries is affected, stock market also will be full, and then there will be foreign outflow of doing the investment trends. Definitely it will affect the Indian rupees depreciation. Depreciation is market driven. With this impact of rupee value again diminishing in currently around rupees 88, with the diminution, it actually make Indian export cheaper. So rupee fallen, Indian rupee is depreciating against the dollar, and again the exporter become more cheaper. So with this, now we were able to buy more pen than the 66, in this case of 50% tariff. Again, when we devalue the currency of India, that is devalue is another concept. That devalue means the government or the central bank intentionally or policy, through policy, they reduce the value of the currency through the devaluations in order to maintain the trade balance. Here with the devaluation, if you consider rupee is equal to rupee 100 is equal to dollar 1, in such cases it will again make the export very cheaper, and US persons in the US market will be able to buy with the dollar 10, they will be able to buy 83 pence Indian pence. So at the same time, US is continued with the 10 pen with the $10. So this how it will happen. So in the trade tariff conflict, in the trade dispute between India and US, in this context, the rupee depreciation in the short term, which positively benefit the export to become more cheaper. So this is another policy tool that the central government or the central bank will use in order to balance the trade deficit that we have with the other country, or if it affect the export markets. At the same time, when rupee is depreciating, we'll have another challenge of the higher price increase of the import. Whatever we import, we have to pay more amount. So import burden will be another challenge, can resulting into inflation. So this perspective can be noted as a new dimension that you can include in your answer. For the prelims perspective, we have to understand the basic definition or the meaning concept of the depreciation and devaluation. Depreciation is market driven, where the rupee value or the currency value is decreasing. At the same time, the another concept is devaluation, which is through the policy, it is policy action that the central government for its national interest, it will decrease the value of their currency, devaluation and depreciation. And in this case, RBI has certain amount of role in controlling and managing the inflation and ensure stability and also manage the forex volatility. So monetary and fiscal policy and how would it affect the impact of depreciation. So in geoeconomics, we can also consider that this trade dispute, if it happens, the central bank has this role in managing and controlling the rupee value. Now, next topic that we have, that is the last topic that we have, is a case study that we can use in our mains answer. This case study will be useful for society, social justice, and also we can say in ethics answers. This case study that we have got it from the Better India websites, and this is a latest update that we have. This case study is based on a scheme that is located in the district in a Tripura, the district administration under the leadership of IAS Jaiswal. This mission Sankalp is a best example for combating child marriage in a remote area in the districts of the Tripura. So we can start with the case explanation, the issue they had in this village, in this districts. That is Sapa Hill, the Sapa Hijala district of the Tibra. According to National Family Health Survey, it had revealed that 51% of the girls were married before 18 and 26% were mother at their teenage. This had resulted into a cycle of poverty and other health risks. In order to address the challenge faced by these particular districts under the leadership of IAS Jaiswal, has launched a separate initiative Mission Sangal and has tackled the challenge through different approach including behavioral awareness, integration awareness program, and also coordinated with the departments, interdepartmental coordination, and school became the watchdog. Whenever any girl is not coming to the school dropout or missing has been identified through the school as watchdog, and it has incentivized for continuing the girls education. Those who continued the education will be given like stipends, bicycles, and encouraged the continuity of education. And public recognition also part of that. Any village has completely free from the child marriage will be certified as certified village, certificate area, certificate districts, or certificate village as a child marriage free. This was a method that he had taken under the Mission Sankalp, and successfully it had tackled to achieve and challenge. Achievement were including 100 girls were rescued from the child marriage, and 10 village had been certified as child marriage free village, and they have a target of 169 by 2027. The clear vision is there. And it has improved the health outcomes, and it will also help us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 5.3 progress, that is for the goal of ending the child marriage ahead of the global target under this SDG. The key learning of this particular case study, that Mission Sankalp, with its courage and committed leadership of the community engagement, the systematic coordination can dismantle harmful evil practices or the social practices that would protect the girl's future. This example of Mission Sankalp successful implementation in combating child marriage in this district of the Tibra can be used an example in society and social justice, and we can also give this example as the leadership in case of ethics answer. With that, we are about to finish all the topic that we have today, and we have last the one slide that is a question to you. You can read the questions carefully. This is with respect to the GST Council regarding their voting weightage. The three statements are here. The center vote has 1/3 weightage. The second statement is the state voted together have 2/3 weightage. For a decision to be passed, a 3/4 majority is required. If you know the answer, you can give the answer in the comment section. With that, we are ending this today's session. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it has benefited you in enriching your prelims and mains content.